everyone, it's Alyssa. Today we are here in my kitchen because we're doing a little cookie demo. So we have some fun holidays coming up, including Halloween, and I thought it would be fun to show you how to make cookies. Some of my most popular teen programs have been when we decorate cookies in the teen room, and so I decided to show you how you can do it at home because it's really not that hard. So we are going to I'm gonna leave the cookies a surprise so you can see what we make. But what you need is a sugar or butter dough. I prefer butter dough. There are all sorts of great cutout cookie recipes. What you really want is you want to make sure you're looking for a cutout cookie recipe. If you use just a general butter or sugar recipe, it might not have the right butter to flour ratio and your cookies might spread too much. And when your cookies spread too much, they lose their shape, and then it's not as easy or fun to decorate when you have a blob instead of like a witch's hat or a cauldron or a mummy or whatever it is, a gingerbread man, a snowflake, and they're just like, they look like a big blob instead. Sometimes I do add extra flour to the batter. I just want to make sure that it's not going to spread, and you do want it also to be chilled before you bake it, because if your butter is already warm, that increases spreading. So that's why we chill cookie dough before we bake it, so that it just doesn't spread as much. Because if it's already warm, it's just gonna totally just spread out. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to make the royal icing, which is really simple. I've done it so many times, even at the library, and I'm going to show you how to decorate the cookies. And it's a little bit of a layering process. I use these pre-made pastry bags. They already have a tip on them, and these are disposable, but I'm gonna wash them out. It does say they're a number 4 recyclable, but I'm gonna wash them out and reuse them. So you need you can also just get, I'll show you, you can also just get metal or plastic tips, and you can use plastic bags, reusable pastry bags, whatever it is. If you think you're going to take this up as a hobby or you do a lot of baking or decorating, definitely invest in a reusable bag. They're really nice and thick, and I always have tons of different tips all around the house or in my baking cabinet. And then you're also going to need some food coloring. I prefer, for things like this gel coloring, which you can get at most craft stores in their baking section. You can also order it online. The gel is nice because it doesn't water down your icing too much, and the colors are super concentrated. They're really bright, and there are just so many different colors that you can use, and it's a lot of fun to use these. They're so vibrant. Like I said, it's not going to mess with the texture of your icing by watering it down. So the gel is really concentrated. A little bit goes a long way. You'll see, I'll show you the colors that we're using. And then I'm trying to think what else. I mean, you just need your cookie dough, your cookie cutters, your oven. You need yourself and some creativity. You can even go on Pinterest or Instagram and you could look up some inspiration pictures. The cookies that I made are not totally artist quality. I was in a little bit of a rush, but I'll show you the basics so you can see, and you can go from there and you can make them super spectacular. Okay, so I'm going to show you our cookies and the whole process, so come along with me. So I'm starting by making my royal icing, and this is the meringue powder that you need. There are tons of different meringue powders that you can make, and I'm following the recipe that is exactly on here. I cut mine down by half because I don't need that much. I'm not making that many cookies, but you can follow the entire recipe. It's 3 tablespoons of meringue powder with 4 cups of confectioner's sugar, which is your powdered sugar, and that's about 1 pound, and 5 tablespoons of water. You might want to start with a little bit less. You can always add more. So I'm just going to start by measuring in my meringue powder. So I'm going to do 1.5 because I'm cutting this down. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in some water. And so I'm just hand mixing this with a whisk. It's a little arduous and it's annoying, but you can do it. You can also use a stand mixer or a hand mixer. It goes faster, it goes much faster. But just to show you that you don't need a fancy mixer, or if you, like I have done in the past, you accidentally don't have one when you're trying to make it somewhere, you can go ahead and just use a whisk and a bowl. And it is hard to mix at first. You'll see it feels dry, it feels clumpy, but you're just trying to get everything mixed up and moist. And you can also use a spoon to start mixing until the whisk can kind of break down some of this moisture to powder ratio here. And it will start to take, and you can add more water as you go, but you'll see it does start to get in there. So I've added enough water until it's kind of a runny consistency, but it is not too runny. The thing is, we don't want it to be too thin, because we do need some thick icing. So see, it kind of goes in on itself, but it's pretty thick. So what I suggest next is, first we're going to keep some of it white, and then we're going to color some of it. My favorite way to do this is to use glassware, and you can fill up your pastry bags that way. So I have these pastry bags that already have tips on them. You can use a plastic bag, you can use a tip, no tip, whatever it is, and I'm just going to put it into this cup. Right, so I'm going to put it into the cup, and I'm going to kind of shut it down a little bit, open it up, and open it around the rim of the glass. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my white, thick royal icing right on in here. Don't need that much. Scoop it on in. And that should be good for my white. And then you'll pick it up from the glass, unfold it, and smoosh it all down towards the tip. And you can go ahead and put it in the glass again, so if any runs out of the tip, it's not going to get all over your table or anything like that. So there you go, that's one bag. I would like to, we're going to make black, which is the hardest color to make. Royal icing does always dry darker, kind of like paint. But it is hard to get a really saturated black. Alright, so I'm going to, for this, I'm going to go ahead and get myself a little mixing bowl, my food coloring, and we're gonna go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna put some of my food coloring in the bowl first. And I'm going to mix in some of the white. Actually a little bit runny for my liking. I'm gonna stir in a little bit more confectioner sugar, because I had mixed my gel with water to get to get it flowing because it was a little dried out. So I'm just gonna put in a little bit of confectioner's sugar to stiffen this back up. That one is ready to go. My last color that I'm gonna do is purple, so I'm gonna save this one to the side. You will see we are going to need it. Right now we're just working with the one consistency, but we're gonna make a looser consistency, so you'll see that in a second. I think that's all that I need of the violet. It's a beautiful color, but you'll see I'm just using it for an accent. So what I'm going to do with the leftovers is I'm going to make one more bag of white and one more bag of blue, and we're going to make it a little bit looser, and that's called flood icing. And you'll see what that's for. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. As you see, this is the stiff consistency. We're going to add a little bit of water so that it flows. Okay, so I'm going to start with a round cookie, and we're going to start with a little character. So I'm going to start with my stiffer icing to make an outline. Is this different one? Which one's this different one? I think it's this one. So I'm going to squeeze, give a little twist. Test. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to start by creating a little bit of an outline around the cookie. So the thing about this is it's not like putting a pen to paper. You don't want to smush. You actually kind of want to let the icing drop in an arc that you create. Here we go, we've readjusted. So I'm just gonna kind of let the icing drop, but I'm trying to create a smooth motion with my hand. So you'll see I'm not dragging it. So again, just make sure that you have all of your icing nice and firm, a little twist, and you remove the icing by putting pressure right up here. So here we go. See, I'm just kind of letting the icing fall on its own, and I'm giving it gentle guidance. Okay, there we go. So this is my outline. It doesn't need to be perfect, because what we're going to do next is take the thinner black icing, which they call flood icing, and fill it in. And it is loose, so it is coming right out the bottom, and I'm barely doing anything with it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill that in, and for the most part it kind of flattens itself out pretty nicely. And so the thicker icing helps keep your barrier, and this just makes it smoother and nicer and easier to fill in. Grab my white icing. And do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and create a little outline. And then I'm gonna go ahead and fill it in. And normally you would wait a little bit. This dries pretty quickly. It sets pretty fast. You would just wait a little bit. But I'm just gonna let it fill in. So let's go ahead and flood this in. So now I want this to dry before I do anything else to it. I don't know if you know what it is yet. I don't know. We'll get there. All right, the next one I'm going to do is I had this really cute cauldron cookie cutter. So I'm going to make a little bubbling cauldron. So I'm going to start with my black, and I'm going to start with the thicker black. So I can go ahead and make my border. I'm just gonna follow the shape of the cookie. My cookie spread a little bit. I used a pre-made cookie dough, but normally I like to make a nice cookie dough with a lot of flour and kneading, so it just stays perfectly in shape. Mine kind of blew up a little bit, but here we go. So there's the outline of my cauldron. It's not perfect. I can go in and kind of fix it a little bit. There we go. And now I'm going to flood it in again. So now this also has to dry before we add anything else. Whenever you're making layers, you want to make sure that this is dry, and that takes time. If you see, I don't know if you can see that I've got some bubbles right in here. You can take a toothpick or a pin. I'm using the sharp edge of this thermometer, and you can just go ahead and pop your bubbles while it's still wet, and they should flow back together. If you're looking for perfection, I don't normally care. All right. All right, so I'm gonna move these carefully. I'm gonna grab one more round cookie. And again, I'm gonna start with my white. And I'm going to make a border. So see, I just kind of hovered around. And I let it fall where it may fall. So this one's gonna be a little different. This time we are actually going to flood it, and then we're gonna work with it while it's still wet. Let's see what we can do. So now I'm gonna go ahead and flood with my white icing. I'm going to take some black, and this is the thinner one. And I'm gonna just dot and create a little circle. And because this, so see, this is still wet, they're kind of melting into each other, which is why we're waiting for the other ones to dry before I add some details. For this one, now I'm going to take a sharp edge. You can use a toothpick. I'm using this. And I'm just going to make some lines. And I have a washcloth on hand to wipe off the edge, my sharp edge. So as you can see, what am I making? I'm making a spider web. You can just kind of mess with it. It's kind of forgiving while it's still this wet. And then we're gonna let this dry, and we'll come back in when this is dry, and we're gonna add in decorations to all of our pieces once they're dry. Okay, so at this point, there's enough of a shell on here that when I press, it's not indenting. Not that much. So I can go ahead and I can add in some details. So on my cauldron, I'm gonna add just a little shine line. There we go. Just a little shine. And I'm going to make my cauldron bubbling over. So I'm going to take my purple that I haven't used yet. I'm super excited to use. And I'm just going to start making some bubbles. Alright, so see, my icing is still a little wet. But, you know, so they're kind of going together. So you can start to put some apart from each other, and then when it starts to form its little skin, then you can go back in and add some more so that they look like they're separate bubbles. So the next thing that I'm going to do is every web needs a spider, so I'm going to make a spider for my spider web. And so for the legs, I'm just kind of squeezing and releasing and dragging it out. I don't think I'm gonna get 8 legs on here. It's probably not really gonna be technically a spider, but you know, we'll see where we go. This kind of melted into itself. So I'm gonna go back in when this dries and just kind of fluff up the body of the spider a little bit. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab my black icing and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make some eyes. And I'm just gonna settle these eyes down with the tip of my sharp edge. And I'm gonna make a little mouth. And let that dry. Okay, so I let some of these things dry and I added more layers of bubbles boiling over. I added the body to the spider. I used some of the white and I added fangs. This is a little vampire. And I used some red food coloring on the tip of your Q-tip or needle, whatever it is. And I just kind of outlined the teeth and had some dripping down. Again, all of these steps take a couple of minutes because you do want to make sure that you at least have enough of a shell that you're not going to accidentally poke through. Right, so I'm kind of like just defining the teeth with the blood. I think it's kind of cute. Anyway, so the bags that I used are a little thicker than normal. I know I mentioned that before, but you can also get a thinner tip, and you can do some more detail work, which I probably would have used for the mouth and the spider, but I didn't think of that sooner, so. But these are our little Halloween cookies. Right, everyone, so that is it. So we are done with our cookies. So here we go. We have our bubbling cauldron. This is so cute. I love the little bubbles. They're a lot of fun. And like I said before when I was showing you, you can keep letting these dry and add more and more layers. Like I said, this icing was a little bit wet and runny for my taste, but I wasn't making that many different batches for the purpose of this demonstration. I will show you for the holiday edition how to work with a stiffer icing version of a royal icing, because I make some really, really, really cool trees that require a very stiff icing. So I'll show you how to do that in a couple of months. But definitely play with your icing consistency. You know, you can use a thinner tip to get some neater lines like this. This was also a little bit runny, but this is a lot of fun. This is a cute little cookie. And then I have my spider web with my spider. And you can even do, like I said, you don't need just the black lines for your spider web. You can do orange and purple. You could do psychedelic. You can do like a tie-dye pattern like this. Forget the spider. But again, a stiffer icing might be better for the legs. And the thinner tip that I showed you earlier. But that takes a little bit of practice, and a lot of times, you know, you probably saw when I was working on my plate, I do a lot of lines on my plate, and I show that a lot when I work with the teens in person. I always say, like, practice on your plate or on your napkin first so you can kind of get used to it, and if the consistency isn't right, then I always know to go back and add more sugar to my bowl or more water, whatever it is that I need. And then my little vampire, super cute with the bloody fangs. It's so cute. So, and this is just a round cookie, you know, the place and bake dough. This was from just a little place and bake, and so you can use the round to create so many different shapes. You can create a pumpkin out of it. You could do a big spider. You know, you can leave some negative cookie space. Or like I said before, you can do a Frankenstein if you just change to like green and add stitches. You could do a mummy where you just have the eyes showing and use a stiff white royal icing to create bandages across with a flat pastry bag tip. There are just so many different options. This is really just an introductory video so that you can go forth and create. If you decide to make cookies yourself at home, let me know, send me some pictures. I love to see what you all create. This is a lot of fun, and these skills can just carry over, and you can do so many more things for so many holidays, occasions, birthdays, random fun nights, whatever it is that you want to do where you might want some cookies, because life with cookies is really good. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you create something fun or just take some knowledge with you on your way for the rest of the day. And I will be back with a cookie demo closer to our winter holidays when it's a lot darker and colder out. And we'll make some snowflakes and snowmen and some trees. And until then, if you need some more cooking, you can join me on Wednesdays for Book Cooks. It's live at 12, but you can always watch it on any of our social websites afterwards if you want to cook along. All right, that is it. I hope you all have fun, and I will see you soon. Bye.